Hello friends, Mandar here. I'm back with another video. Today we'll talk about some of the important questions that I have been getting in the last couple of days. Those have to do with I-485, Nunc pro tunc. We'll also talk about dual citizenship a little bit further. Lot of interesting topic, guys. Watch this video until the end and let's get started. If you are here for the first time, welcome. My name is Mandar and I make immigration and lifestyle related videos for US and Canada. I'm not an immigration lawyer, so anything that I say on this video or on my channel is for information purpose only. And for your specific immigration needs, before you take any action, you should hire a competent immigration lawyer. Now I'm doing my EB1A masterclass at the end of October, so check out the link in the description if you're interested. Also, there are some affiliate links. Now let's talk about the first topic of today, which is Nunc pro tunc. This is a common term referred in the government where government gives a decision and then gives another decision later on based on some further information to replace the initial decision. So it's really a Latin word for now, for then, and there are some unique scenarios where you can take advantage of this in the immigration space. Say for instance, you have an H1B visa or you have an H4 visa and you have certain expiry date. Now before the expiry date, 6 months before it expires, you should submit the renewal or extension. Now what happens if you don't submit the renewal or extension in time? Or maybe say for instance, you lose your job on H1B, you have 60 days to file your H1B extension and you are into now 61st day or later. What happens then? Now there is a provision in immigration where you say Nunc pro tunc, where you can establish that due to extraordinary circumstances, because of the delay in some of the factors that were not in your control, your filing for the extension was late. And USCIS will still consider that and they will approve your extension and retroactively approve your extension. What happens if you don't do this? If you have run out of these 60 days, you technically are out of status from 60 days onwards. But with this clause, you can say that there were extraordinary circumstances that were beyond your control, which led to the late filing, and USCIS will consider that and retroactively approve your case. Now, there are some other situations where you can also use Nunc pro tunc. For example, your I-94 had a very short date. You can request USCIS to retroactively extend your I-94 date. In certain instances where dependents were not approved at the same time as the primary applicant, say for instance you applied for H1 and H4 did not get approved. So there are several different situations where you can use this, but the thing is there has to be extraordinary circumstance that is beyond your control. If you can establish that, USCIS can make another decision which will be in your favor. So that is something that I wanted to talk about because few people asked me about this particular term Nunc pro tunc, and I wanted to cover it. Let me know in the comment section below if you have used it in the past and what was your experience about it. And that brings me to the sponsor of today's video. Have you ever done the Google search of your own name? Look what I have found when I did mine. Here's what comes up. While some of this information is relevant, the other makes me uncomfortable that my information is exposed for a sale like this. Data brokers sell your information to scammers, spammers, or anybody else who may want to target you. Your full name, email address, home address, your relatives' names, health information, it's all out there. That's why I have been using Aura, sponsor of today's video. Aura shows me which data brokers are selling my information and automatically submits opt-out request for me. Cleaning up my information not only helps reduce the amount of spam I get, but it also protects me from hackers who could use this information to help them access my social media accounts, bank accounts, or other sensitive information. Aura does so much more to protect my information and my family's information from online threats I can't see. I get other features like antivirus, VPN, password management, parental controls, identity theft insurance, and more without having to download several different apps. It's really easy to set up, and best of all, I get everything for one affordable price. You may already have one or two of these tools, but not having Aura is like locking the front door but leaving your back door wide open. Aura is always on, doing the hard work of keeping me safe so I can focus on other tasks with peace of mind. I value my privacy and I value yours. You can go to my link which is on the screen and in the description and start your free 2 weeks trial. So protect your information, your family, and have a peace of mind. That's Aura. Now, second question I have is, and this is very common scenario where people try to go to India or outside of the US for their EB1C qualification. So it's very typical scenario that you have a job, your priority date for an EB2 and EB3 is not current, and it's not going to be current for several years, and you are thinking about applying in EB1C. So one of the scenarios is your company may support you to work from outside of the United States. But you have to be careful in this scenario because EB1C has very specific criteria about working for a non-US entity for at least 1 year in the last 3 years in a managerial capacity. So you cannot be just working for your current job but from somewhere else outside of the US and still incurring salary in the US. That will not qualify because technically you will still be continuing to work for a US employer and not US entity. So if you want to do the EB1C, you have to leave US, you have to go outside of the US, you have to work non-US entity which has an office in India or Canada or wherever, and then for a year in a managerial capacity within the last 3 years, and then migrate and then have an intra-company transfer to the US where you now become a US entity employee, and then you qualify for EB1C if you are here for expanding the business. So that is the clarification that I wanted to make, because some people think that just working from outside of the US will qualify them from EB1C, and that is not true. Another related question to this EB1C qualification is also that if you are an H1B and if your family is on H4 dependent visa, and if you go outside of the US to work for a non-US entity, you technically do not have an H1B. So your dependents technically will not have an H4. There is a common question that I get asked is, can I leave my family who is on H4 in the US and can I go back to India to work for a year to qualify for EB1C? No, you cannot, unless your family changes their status from H4 to some other visa that allows them to remain in the US. There are other options for your family. If they want to stay back, they can be on the visitor visa, they can be on student visa and so on, or they can have their own H1B. In that case, it's not an issue. But if they are on H4, that's an issue. They cannot stay in the US without the primary applicants holding the H1, a valid H1B visa. So keep that in mind, because that is another mistake that many people do without knowing the facts. Now this is a funny one. Some people ask me that I think that I qualify for EB1A. So okay, you qualify for EB1A, but then they say, okay, can I just pay somebody $15,000 or $20,000 to get my EB1A approved? Now I want to be very clear in EB1A category, just to make sure that you have a successful application and don't make the mistakes and rely entirely on some agency that claims that they can get you an EB1A. Maybe they do, maybe they'd help with the documentation, but I will be very cautious. EB1A is your petition. It is self-petitioning. The best person in the world who knows who qualifies is yourself. You can get all kinds of information, all kinds of advices from anybody. Once you know the criteria, once you know the evidence requirements, you will know whether you qualify or not, and you will be responsible to gather all the evidences for EB1A. So don't rely on any random agency that will just take money from you and claim that they will get your EB1A approved. Even if you go with them, it will be your effort to make your case successful. So I'm not against that. I'm just against you not doing your due diligence or your work. EB1A is self-paid and you have to put in 100% of the effort, and then someone else can help you file your application. So that is what I wanted to clarify. Now another question, very common question, what is the scenario, or what is it that we can expect from EB2, EB3 and EB1 for the rest of the year in terms of priority date movements? Now I already made a couple of videos, you can go check out them in the past, but I said what I said. I'm going to say that although the dates for EB2 and EB3 have progressed as we expected, 6 to 7 months, they may see a slighter less progression in the filing date chart for the remainder of the year. Maybe they will advance by 1 full year, so adding another 3 or 4 months to the already advanced date. EB1 although is going to be a little bit different case, because there are so many unknown factors that you cannot even predict what the date movement is going to be for EB1. The reason is there is n number of applicants that are upgrading their petitions, bringing their old priority dates into EB1. There are people from India who are moving back to the US just because their priority date is not now current. These are zombie applicants. I've been talking about them many months, or actually many years. That is why the forward movement in EB1 is very unpredictable. But I still think that there will be a quarterly progression in the filing date chart for even for EB1. So since few people have been asking, I thought I would cover this point as well. Now the last point I wanted to cover is the dual citizenship. Now as you know, India does not allow dual citizenship. So if you become a citizen of anywhere else, say US, Canada, Australia or wherever, you have to renounce your Indian citizenship. But that is not always true with the Western worlds. So for instance, you are an Indian citizen and then you settled in Canada and you get your Canadian citizenship, and then you went on to become a US citizen. You have to renounce your Indian citizens the first time you get any international citizenship, say for instance Canada. But once you become a Canadian citizen, even after that, if you acquire US citizenship, US doesn't care how many other citizenships you have. All they care is you have your allegiance to US. So really, technically you will be a US citizen, but you will also remain the Canadian citizen, but you will not remain Indian citizen. Another advantage is there is practically no border between US and Canada for you. So entire North America gives you a freedom of movement. So that is another benefit of holding both the passports. One more thing to remember is you should always use the passport of the country that you are entering into. So say for instance you are a dual citizen of US and Canada. If you are entering Canada, use Canadian passport, and if you are entering US, always use US passport. For the rest of the world, you always use US passport. There are a couple of interesting facts that I would like to tell about the dual citizenship, but I will save that in my next video. So a detailed video on dual citizenship is coming up next in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned to my channel. If you like the content of this video, do hit the like button. And if you have more topics that you want me to cover, put them in the description below and I will be sure to cover it in my next videos. Also don't forget my EB1A masterclass, which is coming up end of October. And if you have any questions from me, do set up some time with me on Calendly so that I can give you my perspective in your situation. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.